Hey guys, it's Austin Bach, and welcome to my first M14 draft here on MTGO on release weekend. Um, so this pack is not terrible. It's got a couple good things going for it. There's a Battle Sliver, which is good for the Sliver deck, but it's not one of the higher pick slivers. It's just a good late pickup if you already have a few like Predatory Slivers and some of the rare slivers and whatnot. Essence Scatter is pretty good in the blue deck. Counterspells are generally pretty good and limited if they're efficient enough, like Essence Scatter is. Giant Growth is pretty good as well. But I'm going to take the Seraph of the Sword because, obviously the two weaknesses of creatures are dying in combat and dying to removal, and the Seraph pretty much removes one of those from the equation. So it's very hard for the opponent to kill if they don't have any damage-based removal or ways to bounce it or whatever. So happy to pick that up. Second pack here, I think I'm just going to take this Briar Pack Alpha. It's a very good combat trick. There's like a Divination if I wanted to go for the Blue-White Flyers deck, but I don't like to take Divinations that early. Corpse Hauler's fine, just as a bear with value later in the game, but none of these cards are even close to Briar Pack Alpha. Not a big fan of Awaken the Ancient. One of those few cards that you'll sideboard in, like Demolish for, but it's a little too mana intensive for my liking. Ooh, this is a pack. It's a Sengir Vampire and a Liturgy of Blood, which means black could be open. There's two commons missing, so black is most likely open. It's very interesting. So I could be safe and take the Volcanic Geyser, but I'm going to take the strong signal that black is actually open and take the Sengir Vampire, and possibly be either black-white or black-green. If we're in black-white, we want to be looking for like enchantments like Quag Sickness and Aromancers and Pacifisms and whatnot, because that's where one of their main synergies lies. So pretty happy to take that, and I'm pretty confident that black will be open moving forward, because black is generally not that super strong unless you're very dedicated to it, which means you have to start taking black cards early in order to get all the pieces you need for draft. Even if I just end up abandoning this Vampire, it's a very strong finisher in that deck. Hard to deal with, same as the Seraph. So again, if we play against the all creature no removal deck, we're going to have a pretty good time if that's the route we decide to take. Alright, a couple more nice options here. There's a Vampire Warlord, which is quite strong. We don't have any good sacrifice targets at the moment. Celestial Flare is actually a lot better than it looks. It plays out very well, unless your opponent's playing like the Token Swarm deck or something, which is not that prevalent in draft. Mark of the Vampire is also quite strong, and Dawnstrike Paladin. But I think Vampire Warlord is a slightly better card than the Paladin. I also like Mark of the Vampire, but again, something that I'd rather take a little bit later once I've established a good creature base. But yeah, the black cards are looking pretty strong so far, so I'm going to hope that keeps going. It's interesting. We have a Warden of Evosile, which is quite strong. Marauding Maulhorn's not bad. I think I'm just going to take the Accursed Spirit here, continue trying to cut black, and hopefully white will continue to be open, even though it's not looking super likely. But this Warden is fairly late. I expect this to be gone by now. Over, looks like an uncommon, a rare, and two commons, which is a little strange to me because I don't know how many commons are actually better than this thing. So either people don't know what the good commons are, or people just aren't in blue, but we'll see what happens. Here's a Quag Sickness, which I'll happily take. Gnawing Zombie isn't bad either. We have one sack outlet already. I think the main problem with black in this set, well, not a problem, but one of the toughnesses of drafting black is there's a lot of good sack outlets, but not many good ways to make use of it, unless you end up with like all the active treasons and whatnot. I don't know if there's many creatures that you want to actually be dead, unless you have like the one drop Tenacious Dead or whatever. There's a Master of Diversion, which, I could take the Undead Minotaur just to be safe, but Master of Diversion has such a huge upside. I think I want to take it here. If you're on the offensive it's very hard for the opponent to recover from a Master of Diversion beatdown plan. We could also take the Demolish for sideboard tech against the Awaken the Ancient, but I don't think that's going to be necessary. We're in black, we're probably going to have some hard removal anyway, like Doomblades and Liturgies of Blood and whatnot. I hope the Liturgy of Blood wheels, but don't think that's going to happen. I'll take a Blood Baron. It's quite strong. Right now I'm looking to kind of lower my curve. I need some 2 and 3 drops, so hopefully that Corpse Hauler comes back around and whatnot. And we're not tied to white yet, but we have 2 pretty strong white cards already. So I'm going to hope that it continues to be open, but we'll see what happens. Another interesting choice. Undead Minotaur is good just as a curve filler. But I actually like Minotaur Abomination quite a bit. You slam this on turn 6 and suddenly their entire ground game is just gone. Forces them to 2-for-1 themselves with a trick or something to get rid of it. So it's a very good top end. It's like the reverse Crawl Worm basically. Pay No Heed's actually a pretty good card. I undervalued it a lot, but sometimes it's main board, sometimes side, but it has its moments. Ooh, another Blood Baron. Alright. So I still want to get some more aggressive options going. Take a Duress for the sideboard. There's that Demolish again, but I'm going to take this guy because it stops our Blood Barons. Oh, I actually like Solemn Offering quite a bit as well for dealing with opponents' pacifisms and Mark of the Vampires and whatnot, just for the blowouts in combat, or just to some life gain in a pinch. So let's move to pack 2. Alright, second pack. There's a Shock that doesn't go in our deck. I hate it when there are rares in our colors, but they're not good. We're not taking this. It is pretty strong with our sack outlets, but the triple black is too restrictive, so you're not going to be able to play it on time, and the payoff is just not high enough, I think. Not taking Shadowborn Apostle. I think I'm just going to take a second Master of Diversion. I could take a Shock and try to move into red, but like I said, I still want to be in white. Although I do like the black-red deck with all the sack outlets, and if we can pick up a couple active treasons or whatever. But I'm still just looking for black and white bears. Removal is another thing I actually need. I don't have any at the moment. I passed on a Liturgy of Blood earlier, although I do still think Sengir Vampire is much better. Well, actually, that's not true. I have the Quag Sickness, so we could get a couple more of those. Let's move the Solemn Offering to the side. I'll leave the Pay No Heed in the main for now, but I'll most likely be cutting it on this Briar Pack Alpha. I'll leave that, unless white ends up drying up and green appears to be open. Well, the person next to us isn't in green, because they would have taken Witch Stalker. So the choice here is between a third Master of Diversion, an Aromancer, and an Accursed Spirit. Number 2. Aromancer and Quag Sickness is a really good combo, but we only have 1 Quag Sickness at the moment and no other enchantments. So I think a lot of the time Aromancer would just be worse than Master, but I also don't really want a third Master, so I think I'm just going to take the second Accursed Spirit. Master of Diversion's not that great on defense. So yeah, I'm just going to take the Accursed Spirit. Really looking for the 1 and 2 drops and removal, and that's about it. Ooh, guess I'll take Corrupt. We're looking to be primarily black. It is removal. It's very slow removal, but it also gains its life. So it has enough value that I think it's worth taking. I think I'm just going to take a Sentinel Sliver here. Vigilant Bear is never bad. Out of all the slivers, I think this is one of the best as a standalone. Just because 2/2 Vigilance for 2 is already playable on its own, whereas something like the 2/2 that gives +0/+1 for 3, something like that needs a lot more help. And like even the rares, like the 2/2 Lifelink for 4, the 1/1 Flying for 1, those just aren't very good rates. Anyway, yeah, I needed the bear, which is the main reason I took that, but that's also a consideration. Don't need another 6-drop. I like Nightwing Shade. But is it better than Dawnstrike Paladin? Not actually sure. There's also Griffin Sentinel, but I have a fair amount of 3-drops already. I don't think I need them. Need a flyer right now. Um, I think since we're looking to be mostly black, I'm going to take this Nightwing Shade. I mean, if things go really in our direction, we could even go mono black, take advantage of these Quag Sicknesses and Corrupts, but that's so far not looking to be the case. A couple of nice options here. There's a Festering Newt, which is good with our sack outlets in combat. Alter's Reap isn't bad, even though we already have some good sack outlets that we're not going to need it as badly. But I think I'm going to take the Gnawing Zombie. It's a pretty good body. It can play defense and offense by using its ability. Good sack outlet. We just need to pick up more Festering Newts and whatever later on. But I value 2-drops better than 1/1s for 1, even if it does have a good ability. Sure, Mark of the Vampire. Dark Favor is not bad either, but we're not looking to be the most aggressive, so I'd rather play more of a mid-range game and just punch through with a fatty like Seraph of the Sword or something. So yeah. Death Gaze Cockatrice, not bad. There's also a Blightcaster, which works with Sickness and the Mark of the Vampire, and that's it. So I'm not taking that, I don't think, for the same reason that I didn't take the Aromancer, which could wheel, you never know. I might take it if it does. But I think I like the Cockatrice here. It is a removal spell, essentially. You can trade with whatever you want if they Alpha Strike, even though that doesn't mean you're in a great position at that point. But, Dark Prophecy Wield, fancy that. Still not going to take it. I think I'll take a Vile Rebirth. It's better when you have a lot of removal spells and you're killing all their things in the early game, so you can ambush something for sure later on. But even just late game, it's a fine combat trick, I suppose. None of these cards are very good. I'll take a Millstone. Don't think I'm going to be milling anybody out. Interesting. I might actually play this. It's a low drop that we can sack once the life gain, it becomes clear that the life gain's not relevant. Maybe I take Fortify instead. It's good on both offense and defense, so yeah. Brave the Elements. Only works with 4 of our creatures, and one of them already has semi-protection, so I'll just take an Alter's Reap, I guess. Not too happy about that, though. Take another Duress. Sure, I'll take Smelt. Alright, so we're looking for a little bit of help in the last pack. We need maybe 1 or 2 more bears and a lot of removal in the last pack. Our creature suite is already pretty good, but we have a lot of holes to fill, so hopefully the last pack goes well.